That's right. I just want to fill you guys in on some of the things I've learned. I've been talking to a lot of the demonstrators here. First, I wanted to talk about that popping sound we heard. I wanted to show you guys this. We found this on the sidewalk, and I talked to a few people who were here earlier when the police car was burned. They said that ammunition was popping inside the car. I don't know for sure part of that, but we do believe that that popping sound was related to the car. People weren't sure if there were weapons being fired, so the more I talked to people, the more I realized that was probably likely not the case, that it was ammunition inside the cop car that was making that sound. Also, I've been talking to a lot of people here about the damage, about the flipped car, the graffiti, the shattered glass. I said, you know, people are going to be critical of that. What is your message to them? And they said, you know, they didn't want it to have to come to this, but this is the way to get people's attention. And a lot of people said they're not condoning this. There's a number of people that have told me they've asked people to, you know, get off the stop sign, stop spray painting, don't flip the car. So this damage here doesn't reflect how everybody here at this demonstration feels. A lot of people are against a lot of the damages that happened, but they said they've got to speak out because they need their message heard. Earlier, there was chants going on for George Floyd, for Black Lives Matter, for police justice. So those were the chants that were going on now. So I just wanted to let you guys know what some of the demonstrators here have told me about why they're out here. They don't all agree with the damage that's been done. And again, I'm sorry, this is obviously happening live for if you're hearing any of that. But just wanted to show you guys that we had some more information about what that popping sound could have been, as well as what a lot of people here feel about the destruction. And why don't you look over here now? There's a guy on the police car throwing a shopping cart. You know, it calms down and then something will happen and everything picks back up again and the crowds come back around. The car isn't really on fire anymore, but you can see there's actually a lot of bird scooters that have been kind of thrown into the mess of the fire. And right now people are hitting the car with skateboards. There's some ash flying around here. That's what you're seeing. And you know, this car, it's still on fire. On the bottom, there are still flames. So, and I just want to point out that I've talked to a lot of people here today who say, you know, the violence and the destruction isn't a reflection of how they wanted to demonstrate today. Just want to make that clear. A lot of people are condemning it, but obviously you can see there's still going on here. But the flames have mostly been put out. Or have been...
Hey, tell my mama I made it on TV.
Getting more center around the car right now, but the numbers have been fluctuating. I'd say it's smaller than it was when we first got here, but I wouldn't doubt it if it picked up. Sorry, we're just going to back away. If it picked up later tonight.
I just want to ask where you've been all day. There have been people peacefully protesting all day at the Capitol, and you decide to show this? There's so much more to cover here. It's too important for you to try to frame it like this. That is not fair.
I don't know. I can't speculate about that, but I would assume that a curfew wouldn't stop any demonstrations. People have tried to kind of move the protest off the street, and it just keeps kind of finding its way back into the street, so I don't anticipate that that would go over well. Yeah. And again, yes, I wanted to make that clear. This is one part of it. There are a huge number of people here that are peacefully protesting, chanting, having signs, staying out of the street. But this is obviously kind of the center part of it where the police car was flipped. But I don't want to, I do want to point out that there are a great number of people that are peacefully protesting still at this point. You see, no. People have been happy that we're here. Yeah, they're breaking the glass there. And you can see they're chanting the name of George Floyd as well, the man killed by the police officer in Minneapolis. No, we're going to try to move over to the other side. Yes, and yes. Yeah, people have taken their skateboards.
You don't get to put this on the news until you put people chanting.
We have, sir. I promise you. There's a demonstrator here who's pointing out that there are.
I didn't see a single crew at the Capitol showing the beautiful protest that was happening. You don't get to show this until you show that.
We did, sir. I assure you. It's an emotional time. No, we are. It's emotional for a lot of people, and they don't want the actions of few to represent how everybody feels. Oh, there's some glass there. Let's back up. Yeah, it's broken.
Sorry. This is breaking news on 2 News.
Good evening and thanks for joining us for 2 News at 5 o'clock. Our top story this evening, a protest in downtown Salt Lake City that turned violent. Car overturned, set on fire. And we have team coverage of the breaking news for you. Kelly Vaughn and Jenna Rowe, both live right now with more on the chaos. Kelly is first. Kelly, what are you seeing now outside the police station?
That's right. So the protest, it started at that intersection where the police car was overturned. Then they made their way down 400 South, kind of breaking the glass of the track station. It kind of came to a head at a 7-Eleven. We weren't sure if people were going to all go inside. Now we're here at the police station, where, as you can see, demonstrators have been breaking glass, some graffiti on the windows. This is a smaller group than initially was at the overturned police car. But as I mentioned, it kind of turned into a little bit of a march as they walked down 400 South, breaking the glass of the tracks station, and then made their way here. And I'd like to point out that there have been some people that have tried to stop some of the damage and vandalism, but as you can see, it's persisted. So this demonstration, as I mentioned, it started around where that police car was overturned. The fire at that, we were there just a few minutes ago, and that fire has been put out. The demonstrators kind of moved down the street towards the 7-Eleven, and it seemed like everyone was going to maybe go inside there. Then they turned the corner, came here, and just as quickly as it moved down here, it seems that people have backed away from breaking the glass and spraying graffiti, but there are still a number of people here behind watching. Some of the graffiti, no justice, no peace. Some of this, obviously you can see some expletives, but this is live, so we can't help that. Demonstrators now are chanting the name of George Floyd, the man who started these demonstrations when he was killed by a police officer in Minneapolis.
Everybody back out.
People are being told to back up now. Oh, we can see police inside the building. You can see them on the other side of the glass. Let's back up, Jake. They are armed, so we're going to just back away. They've kind of, someone just throw, they got a smoke bomb that they just threw, and if you can look through the glass, you can see the officers there on the other side in full protective gear. Looks like people are throwing water bottles, and now that guy looks like he's posing for a picture. Like I said, this was many of the demonstrators who started at that overturned police car that was set on fire. They kind of moved in a march here towards the police station, breaking glass, spraying spray paint, and now you can see the police have come out. I'm only seeing 2 or 3 police officers from my vantage point that are inside. Looks like people are throwing rocks, water bottles. Someone did have a smoke. All right, it looks like now the police might be coming out, or that's what it looked like to the demonstrators. people here, many of them with the Black Lives Matters posters. It looks like a lot of people here are just kind of bystanders, also trying to see what happens. And there's even more people across the street. A lot of people throughout a lot of the destruction that has been happening. There's been more people hanging back and trying to protest peacefully. I just want to make that clear. But there are the handful that came here. You can see the graffiti on the glass, as well as broken glass. And it looks like people are running up, and now everyone's running away, Jake. Not sure what they're running from or where they're running to. We'll move closer. Do you want to move closer and see? We're not sure why all of a sudden everybody dispersed. But this protest, it was really central around that location where the police car was overturned. But then all of a sudden it moved and it kind of marched down the street here to the police station. And just as quickly as everyone came in, now everyone's dispersed into the park. So not sure what's happening here, but we're going to keep following, keeping an eye on everything that's going on. But I'll send it back to you guys for now and keep you updated if anything develops. Yes, all right. So in the past minute, there have been police cars filling up the streets. As they came here, people were throwing beer cans and water bottles at the car. And in the last 10 seconds, the police presence here has doubled. They're in their gear. These officers are armed, and we've got even more coming. Now, this is in between 300 and 200 East on 400 South. This whole block now is filled with Salt Lake City police officers. The protest moved away from the police station where we were earlier, where they were breaking glass and spraying graffiti. Now it seems like most of the protesters are just kind of along this line. All we've really seen is people throwing stuff at the police cars. There's a lot of cars, police cars here. Protesters have been backing away as more and more police cars have come, but people have continued to throw things at the police. So far, what we've really seen is bottles and cans.
It looks
this
like,
is a huge different. Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, Kelly. Yeah, it's a much different scene than it was just a half hour ago. Much different.
Exactly what I was going to say. Excuse me, watch out. Earlier today, we were, a lot of people were wondering, where are the police, where are the fire department? Well, they have all turned up. Now this all happened shortly after everyone stormed to marched to the police station. But they've since left that area. Now, again, this is on 400 South between 300 and 200 East. It went from no law enforcement presence to police cars lining this entire block. It looks like you can see them. They're moving with their shields. It looks like they're trying to, I'm not sure exactly what they're doing over there. We got even more coming down this way right now.
It's a difficult scene to cover, Kelly, because we tend to, and this happened to me not long ago, several months ago, we can get caught in between the police line and the protesters. Nice work down there getting all of this.
That's right. We're just keeping our eye out for following their instructions. It doesn't look like they've been really telling anybody to move or anything that we've seen so far. Mainly, they just have kind of taken over this block, and people continue to throw rocks and things at the police car. But I can't see any sort of direction they're giving to people to clear out or anything just yet. It looks like right now they're just kind of letting their presence be known, and we maybe even have a few more police cars coming down this way now. But again, we haven't seen, we just saw an officer get hit with a water bottle, but we haven't seen them try to tell anybody to move, because most of the demonstrators now aren't on the road because there's the police cars are there. Everyone's kind of moved onto the sidewalks.
And Kelly, what we're seeing just up the street from you, more officers have come in from West Valley Police. It looks like perhaps South Salt Lake Police on the scene. So we're unified police officers are on the scene now. So we've gone from basically 0 to 100 in terms of the police presence in the last few minutes. So we've had those police departments that Chris Burcham was saying, well, hey, extra department. We hadn't seen any. Well, now we're seeing it, big time. Go ahead.
I was going to say, we're seeing a few people kind of down the street kind of getting in the face of a few police officers, but they haven't gotten too close with them. We've got another group of officers just coming in front of us right now with their shields, and even more police officers coming down the way now. But so far, I haven't really seen them interact with any of the demonstrators, except for right here where it looks like those demonstrators are maybe yelling at the officers.
So
but now the entire block here is covered. Go ahead.
So where is the crowd now? Where are the demonstrators?
They're pushed back here, Jake. Why don't you show this way? This is where the demonstrators, they've kind of been pushed back. This is just up the block from the police station, and we've seen more people kind of hanging out here. And down the block, there's from a few people, but it kind of looks like so far what the police have accomplished is kind of splitting up the group. It's there's maybe a group over here, and then there's more on the other side down where that police car was overturned before. So right now, people are just kind of hanging back and watching.
Yeah, so I'm thinking they're on Library Square on the other side. So we see one image on one side of Library Square, and then Kelly's image on the other side. It appears to me that that there are public buildings there as well. Certainly targets for vandalism. We would hope that those public buildings are not damaged in any way, and that there's no violence where anybody, more importantly, could get hurt. So in the last 10 or 15 minutes, police swarming the area near 4th South and 2nd East in downtown Salt Lake City. All of 4th South, all of 2nd East completely blocked off. And then we see more police officers from different departments coming on scene. Some unmarked vehicles, the big police military style vehicle in the middle of this as well.
That's right, we're back where this started at 400 South, 200 East. You can see this is where the police car was flipped and burned. Now they've got the armored vehicle there and officers. Right now, basically, they've just been standing guard. Protesters have coming up with their hands up, some saying hands up, don't shoot. Demonstrators and police I haven't seen many interactions as far as earlier when we saw a lot of people like throwing bottles and things like that at the police car, but since they've gotten set up, this is happening now. This is causing some major traffic backups as well on 400 South because this road here is completely blocked so people can't go. If you can hear, that's the demonstrators saying, "I can't breathe." Some of them are throwing water bottles at the police. And it's actually starting to rain here just a little bit, so, a little bit of change there as well. When the bottles are thrown at police, you can see they've got their shields. They're just kind of deflecting them. I haven't seen them take any action against the demonstrators as far as just blocking the roads and kind of splitting up the crowds. Go ahead. All right, right now we are in the intersection of 400 South, 200 East. This is where these more violent protests started with an overturned police car that was set on fire. You can see now there was no police presence here earlier, neither from the fire department, but now that has definitely changed. There are police officers taking over all 400 South between 200 and 300 East. All right, now the crowd's dispersing. Just like to keep our eyes open to see when everyone starts running away, but it doesn't seem to be for any reason. People are throwing water bottles at police. That's what people are backing away from right now, is it's water bottles that are being thrown. And you can see here the police are trying to communicate with the demonstrators that are kind of right on the front line there. They continue to throw water bottles. We saw a book being thrown earlier. We got more police coming on this side as well. Watch your back, Jake. No, come towards me. Sorry, it's just a little chaotic here as people are still in the streets. Let's move to the median. For right now, we've seen people throwing water bottles at police. They haven't really done much to engage with the demonstrators. Even these police here, as they're driving through, people are throwing stuff at them. You can see they're driving right into the crowds, and now there's people actually in front of the car, preventing this police car from driving through. People just broke that window of the officer, and the officer's inside that car right now. People shattered the back windows, and as the officer drives through, they're hitting it with skateboards. That officer just drove away out of the crowds. Now we've got some people on the grounds here. People trying to help them up. Some other demonstrators kind of take that person up off the ground. You can see just the ground's kind of littered with bottles and books that people have thrown. And all the while this is going on, there are cars still trying to get through this intersection, people still trying to drive. Looks like that woman on the ground there might be injured. She's kind of holding her head. Not sure what happened, but we just saw her go to the ground earlier. Right now, the demonstrators are yelling at police, continuing to throw water bottles. You know, these are water bottles. There's cases that have been left all over the city. People brought them for the demonstrators to stay hydrated. People were passing out water and popsicles and things like that, and now they've been thrown. All right, it looks like they're trying to keep a line so people don't walk past this way. Oh, sorry, excuse us. And as I mentioned, all this happening in this intersection with cars still trying to get through because the roads haven't been blocked on all sides.
Well, these images are stark. A police car that is attacked. We saw a couple police cars that were attacked as the officers were rolling through. And then there is the give and take between the protesters and the demonstrators, in which one protester appeared to go down to the ground and was picked up and carried off.
And it looks like now they're trying to clear the streets. We're going to back up.
Okay.
We're going to back up onto the
idea.
sidewalk because it looks like they're trying to clear people out of the roads, which, as I mentioned a few times now, people are still trying to drive here as this intersection's packed with demonstrators. Earlier there was these picnic tables and stuff were in the road, but they've cleared it out. And it looks like police, they're kind of moving their line down a little bit to clear people out of the road. But yeah, and we keep hearing some sirens, so there might be some more officers coming to kind of take part in this as well. But as you can see, we're in the corner, so we're not in the road anymore. This is the intersection of 200 East and 400 South, and it's just filled with demonstrators and police. Now, if you look down to our left, you'll see that line of police cars that kind of took over the block. That is the line where people were walking earlier, breaking windows, but now I can't see it, but I assume there isn't that many demonstrators there because that's where all of the police are. And now most of the demonstrators, at least on this end, have kind of come back here to this intersection where it all began. Police have made a line, so they're trying to keep people from passing 200 East. But the people are now standing in the middle of the intersection, and these cars here have been stuck here for a long time because they can't drive past.
And Kelly, we know that there is an 8 p.m. curfew that is going to be imposed in Salt Lake City tonight. So that is new from the mayor's office. 8 p.m., everybody's got to be off the streets, and it's going on 20 minutes to 6. Police have their work cut out for them.
Yes, I don't anticipate anybody leaving here on their own. As we said, the demonstrations kind of picked up and died down and picked up and died down, but it hasn't gone away. People seem that like they're ready to, oh my goodness. That was a firework that was just set off, and that was near the police line. Jake's probably got a better vantage point, but it looked like a pink firework.
We saw it.
Oh, okay, we're being told it might be tear gas, but it doesn't look like anything. I'm not feeling anything, but we're not sure exactly what that was. It looked like a firework to me, but I'm not sure if that was something set off by the police to disperse the crowds or by a demonstrator. But I do know that it happened right up in front of the police line.
This is from a state legislator, Representative Jeff Stenquist, saying the death of George Floyd was horrific, and we all feel outraged, but this behavior is disgusting. Unbelievable that Salt Lake City leaders tolerate violence and vandalism during protests like these. Salt Lake Mayor, Salt Lake Council, why do you allow this?
That's right, we're still here at the intersection where this is happening. You can see the police line right here. We've actually had some demonstrators talking with police. They're getting close to them, but we haven't seen much interaction between them. Now, I do want to point out, I asked a police officer about who wasn't in the middle of this, about the 8 p.m. curfew. I asked him if he'll be enforcing it. He said no comment, but I'm assuming that their presence here will be to break up crowds and attempt to enforce that curfew. But again, I'll talk to some more officers who aren't in the middle of this and try to get some more answers as to what their plan is for enforcing that 8 p.m. curfew. I've talked to a lot more demonstrators out here today, and they say amidst all these demonstrations, they don't want their message of Black Lives Matter and being against police brutality. That's why they're here, and they don't want that to be lost in this message.
They've already shot into the ground. Just be careful behind the camera.
All right, thank you, sir. He's just, thank you, just warning us. He said,
see, just like that.
All right, there you can see, we're told those are rubber bullets. They were fired at somebody who was throwing at police officers.
Well, we've seen those rubber bullets being used by police before in Salt Lake City.
The first person they took down.
They hurt. They don't kill, but they can hurt. And there's the line. There is the police line. We also saw somebody throw something. It looked like a water bottle or some sort of liquid in a bottle thrown at the officers, deflected off the one of the officers' shields.
People now are kind of getting up closer to the police line. They've got their hands up. They're repeating that chant that they've been saying, hands up, don't shoot. Now, we did see, as you mentioned, that officer fired the rubber bullets. That was after they throw what was likely a water bottle, because that's what's mainly been being thrown at officers all day.
One of the things that
this is happening. Oh, I was just going to point out, this is at 200 East, 400 South, that same intersection. It's blocked with people in the streets. So again, if you're, I don't know, have to get on the roads, I wouldn't come out here.
One of the things that we've been hearing, Kelly, we heard from Chris Bertram, was you got to keep the crowd moving. You don't want the crowd to build and build in the same place. It does appear that the officers very slowly seem to be moving the crowd.
Yes, it's really slow, and you can see this armored car. It was in line with the police light, and now they've moved maybe, I don't know, a few feet away. If you can hear, they've got a message playing, a message being played. Back up. You can tell they're just moving. They're trying to disperse the crowd slowly but surely away from where that police car was, and they were just asking us to back up, so we backed up from the line as well.
Yeah.
And it is starting to rain here, a little heavier.
Well, and maybe that will help.
And there is a message. Yeah, there's a message that's it's playing something over a speaker. I can't hear what it says, but I'm assuming it's along the lines of go home.
That's what police would like to happen. It doesn't appear that the crowd is moving that quickly, but it also appears that we're not seeing, windows being broken right now either, and we don't see police cars being attacked either. That may be a step in the right direction.
That's right, and I'm trying to gauge if the crowd is dwindling down. It doesn't look like it. It seems pretty steady throughout the day, but now a lot of the people have kind of gotten more up in the face of the officers. They're yelling things to the police, and I can see that police are saying something back. I can't hear what they're saying, but there are a lot more people actually up against this line. Before, it wasn't as obvious that this was a line of police, but now that they've moved out into the intersection, there's a lot more people up there getting in their face. And as we saw just a few minutes ago, they are firing rubber bullets at some of the demonstrators, or at one of the demonstrators I saw that threw something at an officer.
We also, with another vantage point, Kelly, it's up the block from where you are to the north. There have been some people at that area who have actually been moving away from the scene. They're not, there's still a big crowd, but some folks at least have peeled off a little bit.
Yeah.
So this is the scene downtown where Kelly is at 4th South, 2nd East. And what is striking about some of this is you see you see people who are agitating, it seems, in the front, and then you see people like the gentleman right next to you who's got a mask on, who's got his hands behind his back, not saying anything, just kind of watching.
Yes. It seems like there are definitely people who are more active in this, and then some people that are, kind of just watching to see what happens. But I do want to say that a lot of the bystanders have now come up closer to this police line. So there is more of a concentration of demonstrators here in the middle of this intersection. And right now we can see some people are trying to talk with police, some of the demonstrators trying to talk with police now. But they're even behind where I am, there's traffic blocked, and there's even more demonstrators kind of scattered back that way. So there are more people here in this area than are right up against this police line in the intersection. But those people up there are definitely getting more vocal with officers.
We're here because we believe in, protesting in a way that is peaceful, but also allow people to speak up their minds because they're tired, and as communities we're fearful.
Kelly Vaughn with the crowd on the move downtown. Kelly.
Yes, okay, what we just saw, there was a man holding a bow and arrow And then all of these people kind of jumped on top of him and started beating him up. I believe the man with the bow and arrow might be in that truck right now. First, I heard people yelling and running this way. I said, what's happening? They told me there's a man with a bow and arrow, and I came here and I saw for myself. It was an older man. He was holding a bow and arrow, and it looked like he was pointing it at people. It looked like he was pointing at us. We hid behind the car, and then it looks like the crowd kind of jumped in, and I believe I heard they're beating him up, and that's what it looks like. But yeah, I saw him with my own eyes. There was an older man with a bow and arrow, pointing it at people. And it looks like the crowd has swarmed, and the police are involved on the other side. You can see the police are involved. We want to hang back, but obviously we want to see what's happening. This is happening kind of down the street from where the protest was concentrated. Now they're they're attacking the police car. Come over into this side. Wow, there's a big crowd here attacking this police car over here. As I mentioned, come over here, Jake. This started. Oh, this isn't a police car. Excuse me. This is
It's the car of the guy that
with the bow and arrow.
Bow and arrow.
Did you see the man with the bow and arrow?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, I saw him as well.
They pulled him over.
The police have him.
Yeah,
all right, they're flipping his car. All right, if you're hearing me, I initially said this was a police car, and I was incorrect. This is the car of the man, an older man who was pointing a bow and arrow at
They
people.
hit him and they ran
Yes.
back.
Other people who had a better vantage point are confirming to me that they were beating up the man with the bow and arrow. Now I believe that the police have custody of him, and then the demonstrators here started attacking his car, flipped it over, and I mean, you can see what's happening. Now this started again with a man. He had a bow and arrow in the crowd, stopped here at the light ahead of the protesters, and it looked like he was pointing it at people. I saw him aiming it in our direction. We ducked behind a car, came this way. Everyone was saying that he was getting beat up, and I was told that that man who had the bow and arrow is in police custody now, or police are dealing with him, and now demonstrators have attacked his car. I don't know what the man obviously was doing with the bow and arrow, but it did look like he was pointing it at people. It looked like he was pointing it at us. Now they're spraying graffiti. Now earlier,
That is the first weapon that we've seen today, and you don't want to see any
correct.
weapons at all. There's been a lot of violence. It hasn't been directed at people. A little jostling with the police, but that's the first time that we've had news of a weapon. Glad you're okay, Kelly. That is unnerving to say the least. And apparently the car, maybe there's another. We don't even want to mention what they might do with that car. With so many people downtown, when people are turning over cars and they're doing all that, people could get hurt. And we just heard a news conference from the minority members of the legislature, Democrats, who also are people with ethnic backgrounds, who are saying, listen, this is not the way to do it. Burning our city, committing violence, destruction. It's not the way to do it. And yet we have these scenes going on here. There's one angle for you and a different one on the right side of the screen. So, boy, Kelly, where are you now?
we're still here by where the car is. A few more people have climbed up. I've been trying to get a better view as to see if the police do have the man with the bow and arrow. Has the man in custody. Sorry about that. Now people seem to be backing away. I do want to point out what's happening. All right, we're gonna back up. Everybody back up. They're saying they're smelling the smell of gasoline from the car.
Okay, there's
Keep going,
another
Jake.
danger.
I can tell you what's happening. The car looks like, the car is on fire. You feel safe here? Okay, so this is the car that goes, maybe it's fireworks. Okay. Oh, and the car's on fire. So the car that's flipped, it's burning, and it looks like people are maybe also setting off fireworks.
No, there's flame.
As well.
Flame right there.
Now,
We can
if you're
see
just
it.
seeing this is a car of a man, I'm told it's his car, who had a bow and arrow here, pointing it at some of the demonstrators. started to attack the man. I was told he was taken into police custody. I did not see that for myself. People flipped the car over, and now it's on fire. I'm not sure if it lit its on its own or if someone set it on fire. All right, that sound I believe is a motorcycle. But now the car here is on fire. It looked like there were fireworks there as well. Now, just on a side note, while we're looking at this, we talked about the curfew that's being put in place. I talked to, I don't know, maybe 20 protesters here, asked them if this curfew, they're going to abide by it. They all said no. They told me that once people start getting arrested, that's when they'll leave. That's what a handful of people I spoke with. But just I heard you guys talking about the press conference and the curfew, and I don't think that seems to be heavy on the minds of the demonstrators here. You can see still that intersection's filled with protesters, and the SWAT line has moved up a bit, and now that armored car is turning and making its way down the street. We're on 200 East. Most of this had been happening more on 400 South, but now with the burning of this car, the central focus point of most of the demonstrators has moved.
Second vehicle to be
And it's kind of causing chaos in the roads as well, as people trying to come this way are trying to turn around. And like we mentioned, it's the cars are trying to get around, protesters standing in the street, and now this car is on fire.
Second vehicle to be overturned.
And I've been keeping an eye out for that man, because I saw him with the bow and arrow, and I haven't seen him, but I was told that he was taken into custody. But the demonstrators certainly got their hands on him first. I was told he was beat up, and then you can see this is his car here that they flipped, broke the glass, and they are actually taking items from his car and throwing it towards the police line. But this is kind of what it's been like out here all day. It'll kind of mellow out, and then something will happen like this, and everything kind of gets reignited. And as I said just a few minutes ago, I don't think many people here are gonna disperse when it comes 8 o'clock.
We had heard earlier that
that car's really burning, and we didn't see any fire department or any efforts to put out the other car that was set on fire earlier, and I assume the same thing will happen here today. But people are not keeping their distance.
Well, and that's dangerous too, because this car
And it looks like people are standing up on other cars. Okay, and if you can see the armored car kind of behind all of this from the police, it's trying to make its way, and it looks like that's kind of pushing the crowd right now. All right, some of the demonstrators have asked people to back away from the car that's on fire. Now, this car, this is not the police car that was set on fire earlier. This is a car of a man who came here to this demonstration. I don't know if he was verbally against the demonstrators.
He got out of the car with his crossbow.
Right. Okay, did he say anything?
I didn't hear what he said.
Okay. I was just talking with another person here, and she saw the same thing as me. He got out. She called it a crossbow. I don't know if it's...
Literally a bow and arrow.
Bow and arrow, yeah. I saw him with the bow and arrow, and it looked like...
Unfortunately, beat him up. And
yeah.
I'm all for Black Lives Matter. I don't agree with this.
Right. And the woman here was just saying she's upset by this violence and destruction, and I really want to say I've talked to a lot of people here today who condemn this. They've condemned the violence, they've condemned the vandalism, but obviously you can see it's still going on. So wow, that car is really burning right now. She also saw the man with the bow and arrow. She saw the demonstrators attack him, and then this is his car. They flipped it and broke windows, took items from it, threw it at police, and now it's on fire. And there were some explosions we saw. To me, oh man.
There it is again. I'm glad you're a safe distance away from that.
There were other explosions that looked like fireworks to me, but that might be what an exploding car looks like. There was another big explosion that's pushed a lot of the crowd back. I'm trying to see, I don't know if Jake, you can get a better view of what all the police line now, if they've cleared people out of the intersection, because earlier wow.
And Kelly, we were seeing
before this car was set
right
on fire, all the focus and attention was on the intersection, and the police were slowly kind of, I don't know the proper word, not storming, but taking little. That was another explosion from the car. We haven't seen any of the police down on this side, other than we did see them when they were taking the man who was getting beat up. We did see police get involved in that scuffle between the man with the bow and arrow and demonstrators, but I haven't seen him since. Another explosion, and police are hanging back. Demonstrators, thankfully, are backing away now from the car as it continues to burn, and the explosions continue. Honestly, I would say the crowd has grown in the past few minutes. You can see it's all the way on the other intersection from the in front of the gym. You can see packed crowds watching this. Through the intersection, there's more people intermixed with the police. Then on the other side of this burning car, through the smoke, there's a big line of people, and then it continues down the street. So I believe the crowds have grown here in the past 30 minutes. Now, you probably can't see it on the other side of all of this smoke is that armored vehicle. I can see the police lights. It looks like they might be trying to surround it or get near it. That's similar to what they did. And people are throwing stuff at the armored car. And now the police are trying to back the crowd away from the armored vehicle. And these men, people have continued to throw scooters into the fire. You all right? So the police now are trying to back the crowds away from that police vehicle. And you can see the smoke is getting really thick right now, pushing towards a lot of those demonstrators. Okay, just gonna go back up to our view. Oh, that's another explosion. All right, we're back. Yes, okay, so this car is still burning. The police had set a line back this way, but they've since backed up. And just a few minutes ago, the demonstrators were right up with police, and it looks like there was some shoving and things going on up there. They've since backed off, but this car, it's still burning here. We did see some shoves being given between the police and the demonstrators. They were right up in their face. Now, the intersection behind here has been cleared and pushed back maybe half a block. But as I mentioned, this line, the police were more towards we are, but they've since backed up. Demonstrators have gotten up in their face, and this car, it's still burning. There's been a few pops as things explode, but people, you can see, are very close to the flames right now. There hasn't been any effort to the flames by law enforcement or fire. People, you can see, are still throwing things at the police, mainly water bottles is what I've seen. So I heard the governor and in the press conference talking about that 8 p.m. curfew. I went around, talked to a lot of demonstrators. It doesn't seem like many people plan to leave. I did talk to a few people who said this is getting a little intense, so they plan to head home. But most people said they're going to stick this one out. Right now you can hear them cheering, "I can't breathe." This car's been burning for a while now, and as I've said, no efforts have been made to put the flames out. People have been kind of adding fuel to the fire. Actually, in fact, there's been a number of people that I think have thrown fireworks into the fire that explode and definitely frighten people around here, but I can't say that they are fireworks. Right now, the police seem to be kind of holding that line at that intersection of 400 South, 200 East, and then even further down 200 East, you can see demonstrators were pushed back, I'd say about half the block on that side. So the demonstration's been more spread out. It's not as concentrated in this intersection, excuse me, but really it's just kind of moved over here to where this car was flipped. Now, if you didn't hear our report earlier, this car is the car of a man who got out of his car with a bow and arrow. I talked to a number of protesters here who saw the same thing as I did. A man got out of his car with a bow and arrow and was pointing it at people. Demonstrators here attacked him, beat him up. I was told that police took him off to the side, but I did not see that happen. But then that's his car. They broke the windows, flipped it, and it's been on fire. Again, just want to point out that these demonstrators have been here for hours and hours. It's lulled, but it's picked back up, and they've told me, most people say they don't have any intention of obeying that 8 o'clock curfew. But I did ask one of the police officers, how do they intend to enforce it, and he didn't give me any idea. He said no comment, so I don't know what their plans are. And right now it's 6:45, so in about an hour 15 minutes, we'll see if they do plan on enforcing that, and if so, how. But as far as actions from police, we haven't seen much other than them kind of yelling back back to some people to back up as they try to push the police line. We did see some rubber bullets being fired at demonstrators earlier who threw water bottles at police. But as far as what they're doing now, it seems that they're just kind of holding that line, keeping demonstrators from getting into the intersection. And now that the streets on that side have opened up, it's now this street here, 200 South, that's been blocked because the demonstrators, and obviously because this car is on fire. If you look at the flames, you can see the stuff people have just thrown in it, some bird scooters, trash. And as I mentioned, there were some fireworks going off that obviously startled everybody. But what we're dealing with right now is it's kind of a standoff. People down the street, a lot of people are hanging back. There are a decent number of people in the face of the police line, but a lot of people are hanging back still with their posters, still demonstrating. We talked to a lot of people. What is happening over there?
Shot an old guy with a fucking rubber bullet right in the chest.
An officer? Jake, you want to see if we can see what's going on here? People are telling me that a man was shot with a rubber bullet down this kind of hill. We can check and see. Can you see anything? Don't be careful because it's very steep. We were just told by a demonstrator that a man... You can see police are down there with him. I was just told that a man was shot with rubber bullets, but that wouldn't be a surprise because we did see people get shot with rubber bullets earlier today. Now this is all happening kind of on a steep edge here, going down. You can see people kind of getting in the face of police down there. Excuse me, sir, I'm sorry. It looks like there's some sort of argument going on between demonstrators and police.
That's a dirty whore. So we have about an hour and 15 minutes before the curfew goes into effect.
All right, as far as I heard you talking about that boom, that was the car. We've heard a few booms, many explosions from the car, and if I learned anything from that police car that was burned, it's going to continue. There's no barriers or anything to keep people away. Oh wow, it looks like people are getting pushed by police. Someone's on the ground right now. Oh, someone looks hurt. I don't know what started that, but police definitely pushed their line back, pushed some people over. It looks like there is a young woman on the ground. Maybe she's gotten up on the other side of police. Oh, and she's fighting back. People are now attacking Officer Shields. Oh man, that young woman just fell back. She was caught up in the police line. Now people are throwing more things at police. Someone just threw a street sign. From what I can see, that young woman on the ground, she's being helped up, helped away. She looked like she got caught up and she was shoving police back. They were pushing her back as well. There have been a few bubble ups of tension, between the front line and the police where they've kind of shoved, but that's maybe the biggest that I've seen today, where people getting pushed directly with police officers. Now this is still happening all right next to the car that's still burning. You can see it from our angle right now. People are throwing water bottles, rocks. People were throwing rocks at the buildings earlier. And it looks like police are just trying to reassess their line and hold that line back after that altercation. I'm looking to see the young woman that was on the ground, and I don't see her injured in the immediate vicinity around here. Yeah, people have their arms up. It's been something that we've seen throughout today, getting in the police up against the line, saying hands up, don't shoot, people chanting, I can't breathe. And right now it looks like the police line's kind of shifted. It was kind of parallel with the street, but after that altercation, it's kind of at a diagonal, pushing more people kind of towards that burning car. There you can see that armored car. It was on this street earlier when they were dealing with when they were assessing the car that was burning, but now it's backed up.
Police definitely want to hold that line.
So this is
One thing they don't want to do is give up any of the ground that they've already taken.
With people demonstrating. The police line, we're behind it. We're behind those people. That line in front of us that you see, they're right up against where the police are. You hear them, they're saying, hands up, don't shoot. Do you want to go try over there maybe and see if we can get a better angle? We're just going to walk walk over this way to see, to keep our distance, but also see what's going on with the police. So there's a large crowd here. It hasn't dispersed, or it hasn't shrunken during all of this. You can see up here, this is that intersection where you can see people are getting right up to the line of police. Police standing there with their shields. Police here are armed, and we did see people get shot with rubber bullets who threw, who threw things at officers. And we did hear reports of another man who was shot with rubber bullets by police earlier. There was just that jostle with officers where some people were pushed to the ground, but right now it looks like the line's been reestablished. And all the while, smoke still billowing from the car that was set on fire by the man who showed up to the demonstration with a bow and arrow.